You wake up to the golden glow of the California sun, but something feels wrong. The shimmering skyline of Los Angeles looks the same from a distance, but as you step closer, the illusion cracks wide open. Tent cities line the boulevards once meant for limousines and movie premieres. A walk down what used to be Melrose feels more like navigating a refugee camp than strutting through a fashion capital. Welcome to LA in 2025, a city balancing on the knife's edge of a full-blown humanitarian crisis. If you're already hooked into this journey through the real LA, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you're going to want to see how deep this rabbit hole goes. 5 years ago, when you thought about homelessness in Los Angeles, maybe a few rough images came to mind. Skid Row, a guy on a corner holding a cardboard sign. But now, it's an epidemic sprawling into every zip code, from Venice Beach to the suburban edges of the valley. Once the city of angels, LA now looks like a place where the angels have fled and left us to figure out ourselves. What went wrong is a mystery, but fixing it feels almost impossible. Experts blame a brutal cocktail of unaffordable housing, stagnant wages, inflation that laughs at your bank account, and a government paralyzed by its own red tape. But blaming the system feels too easy, doesn't it? The reality you see on the ground, the mothers, veterans, teenagers, says more about us as a society than any official report. And somewhere deep down, you know this isn't just about Los Angeles. It's a preview of what could happen anywhere, including wherever you're watching this from right now. Still, as surreal as it feels, Los Angeles remains a magnet. People come with dreams and leave with scars. Behind every tent flap is a story, and most of them start the same way, thinking it could never happen to them. Keep that thought tucked away, because later you might realize it could happen to you too. And hey, if you agree or disagree as we go, drop a comment. Let's talk about it, because this is bigger than just another news headline. Walk down any major avenue today, and you're walking into a battlefield. But the war isn't fought with guns. It's fought with city ordinances, concrete planners, and anti-homeless architecture designed to make life unbearable for those with nowhere to go. Benches are divided by metal bars. Sidewalks slope into jagged angles. Even patches of grass, once welcoming, are fenced off like forbidden gardens. Public space, the shared commons of urban life, has become a weapon used against the people who need it most. The irony drips thick. In a city that sells itself on freedom, openness, and innovation, public spaces are disappearing faster than affordable apartments. Parks become police zones. Subways roll past desperate faces without slowing down. Malls and plazas hire private security teams whose job descriptions boil down to one cruel imperative: make poor people invisible. You start to realize it's not just about removing tents. It's about erasing existence itself. At first, you might even nod along. Maybe you're late for work. Maybe you just want your neighborhood back. But deep inside, you know this is just another illusion. A city that criminalizes homelessness is not cleaner, safer, or better, it's sicker. A society's health isn't measured by how many unhoused people it hides, but by how few it creates in the first place. If this idea hits you somewhere between uncomfortable and outraged, take a second to like the video. Let's get this conversation into the hands of people who need to hear it. And so the silent war drags on, trench by trench. The only winners? Developers and politicians who smile for ribbon cuttings, while ignoring the human wreckage piling up just out of frame. But don't worry, we're just getting started peeling back this pretty facade. Stick around, it gets even uglier. Here's a little story we love to tell ourselves. Homelessness is a personal failure, a bad choice, laziness, drugs, poor work ethic. We cling to this myth because it's comfortable. It lets us pretend homelessness is a moral flaw, not a societal failing. It lets us sleep at night under solid roofs, while thousands around us sleep under nothing but tarps and stars. But when you start listening, really listening, to the stories coming out of LA's streets, the myth falls apart. People didn't fall into homelessness because they didn't try. They fell because rents doubled in a year, because a medical emergency wiped out their savings, because job markets shrank while tech salaries exploded, because the safety nets that are supposed to catch you, unemployment benefits, mental health care, affordable housing, have been quietly shredded over decades. Ask yourself, if one unexpected disaster could put you on the street, is that a personal failure or a system designed to fail you? Are 90,000 people in Los Angeles just lazy? Or are they victims of an economy that treats human beings like disposable parts in a machine that only values profit? The myth of personal failure doesn't just dehumanize the homeless. It gives politicians and billionaires a free pass to keep doing nothing. After all, if the problem is moral, why fix the economy? Why fix housing? Why fix healthcare? The narrative serves the powerful perfectly. And if you think maybe it's time to rewrite that story, hit subscribe. You're not alone, and your voice matters more than ever. Once upon a time, Skid Row was a 50-block tragedy most Angelinos avoided. You could drive a few blocks east of downtown, shake your head, and pretend it wasn't your problem. Not anymore. In 2025, Skid Row has metastasized, leaking into neighborhoods once considered safe, hip, even luxurious. Try enjoying your $19 oat milk latte while stepping over someone sleeping outside the cafe. Reality checks are now served with every to-go order. The tents are more than just desperate shelters. They're ecosystems of survival. Pop-up barbershops, makeshift daycare centers. Even communal kitchens hum with life beneath tattered tarps and scavenged plywood. The city's official count puts the number of unhoused Angelinos at over 90,000. But anyone with eyes knows the truth. That number is laughably low. It doesn't account for the people couch surfing, the ones crammed into cars, or the growing shadow population invisible to census takers, but very real when you need that parking space at midnight. And the truth no one likes to say out loud, we're adapting to it. Slowly, subconsciously, we're normalizing it. Tents become part of the landscape, like billboards or palm trees. You stop noticing the encampments until one morning you realize they outnumber the luxury condos. It's not outrage anymore, it's resignation. If that thought sends a shiver down your spine, it should. City officials, meanwhile, keep playing musical chairs with solutions. New shelters rise up like shrines to optimism, only to fill up within days. Sweeps push people from one block to another, creating the illusion of action while solving exactly nothing. It's like trying to mop up a flood with a paper towel. And every time a press conference declares victory, you can practically hear the tents flapping in the background, laughing. You've heard the word 1,000 times. Gentrification. It sounds almost benign, right? Like someone just decided to plant nicer flowers or open an organic bakery. But behind the artisanal coffee shops and eco-friendly condos is a brutal truth. Gentrification is a form of displacement wearing a friendly, Instagrammable mask. In Los Angeles, gentrification and homelessness dance a sick, intertwined tango. As up-and-coming neighborhoods bloom with luxury lofts and boutique gyms, long-time residents get priced out with nowhere to go but the streets. The rent triples. The eviction notices pile up. The city celebrates revitalization while quietly sweeping its casualties under proverbial rug. Developers call it progress. City officials call it investment. But if you're the one being evicted, if your community is being erased to make room for rooftop bars and $25 avocado toast, it doesn't feel like progress. It feels like annihilation. It feels like losing your home twice. First when you're forced out, and again when you realize the city never cared if you stayed. And here's the kicker. Gentrification doesn't even solve the homelessness crisis. It worsens it. Each shiny new tower, each gated community, widens a chasm between the haves and have-nots. The illusion of a thriving city masks a growing humanitarian disaster unfolding right underneath those polished marble lobbies. Drop a comment if you've seen gentrification creep into your neighborhood. You're not imagining it, and you're definitely not alone. The real estate market was supposed to be the ticket. Save enough, buy a home, build wealth. But now, ownership is a shrinking privilege reserved for few, not the many. Private equity firms snatch up entire neighborhoods, turning family homes into rental empires. The result? Ordinary buyers are boxed out, forced into a lifetime of renting from invisible landlords who care more about quarterly returns and community stability. Meanwhile, rents balloon out of proportion to wages, devouring half, sometimes more, of a household's income. Landlords know they hold all the cards in a city star for affordable units. Tenants are left scraping together deposits, signing predatory leases, praying for no sudden renovations that would trigger yet another eviction notice. It's a high-stakes game of musical chairs where losing your spot doesn't just mean moving. It means falling straight through the cracks. And as rents climb higher, the quality of life plummets lower. Infrastructure strains under the weight of a population pushed to its breaking point. Public transport sputters. Hospitals overflow. Schools lose funding as families are driven out. The same city that once promised dreams now dangles survival like a prize behind glass. And just when you think it can't get more surreal, the next chapter hits even harder, because homelessness isn't just expanding outward. It's evolving into something far more dangerous. But you always thought the middle class would be a safety net, didn't you? Work hard, get a mortgage, maybe squeeze out a few family vacations to Disneyland if you budgeted carefully enough. But in Los Angeles 2025, the middle class isn't thinning out. It's vanishing like smoke. One bad break, one unexpected rent hike, and suddenly you're Googling how to sleep safely in your car from a Starbucks parking lot. It's not just the usual suspects anymore. The stereotypes people comfort themselves with. It's teachers, nurses, college graduates balance two jobs and still come up short every month. What happens when the people we rely on to build, heal, and educate our communities can't even afford to live in them? Spoiler alert. Society starts to rot from the inside out, and the smell isn't metaphorical. You feel it in the air, don't you? That brittle, anxious energy pulsing through the city. Every conversation about housing drips with barely concealed panic. Even those who seem comfortable are one emergency away from collapse. An unexpected medical bill, a layoff, even a divorce. Any of them can knock you from a sunny one-bedroom to the cold asphalt of Sunset Boulevard. And here's the real kicker. Wages haven't just stagnated. They've been left behind in a world sprinting toward financial absurdity. If you're still here, still watching, it's because you know deep down this isn't just about LA. It's about the American dream itself crumbling into a bad punchline. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, because trust me, this story only gets darker before it gets better. You might think, well, this isn't my problem. But here's a nasty little truth. Homelessness is incredibly expensive, not just morally, but financially. Every year, Los Angeles pours hundreds of millions into emergency services, policing, and healthcare for the unhoused population. And because we don't solve root problems, those costs balloon like a Hollywood blockbuster budget with none of the box office returns. Every tent you see isn't just someone's last resort. It's a bleeding wound on the city's economy. Emergency room visits skyrocket. Crime ticks up, not because people become evil when they lose their homes, but because desperation is the worst kind of fuel. Meanwhile, businesses shudder because foot traffic dwindles when your sidewalk becomes an obstacle course of suffering. It's a vicious cycle. The more homelessness we ignore, the more expensive it gets to maintain even the illusion of normalcy. Police budgets swell, social services strain under the pressure, and still, the problem grows like mold in the walls of a mansion nobody wants to admit is rotting. Pretending this isn't happening isn't just cruel, it's fiscal madness. Imagine if even half of that emergency money went to permanent supportive housing, mental health services, or addiction recovery programs. But no, short-term band-aids are easy to sell to taxpayers who would rather look away than lean in. If this frustrates you, good. That means you're still paying attention, and maybe even ready to be part of the change. Drop a comment if you've ever seen a solution that actually worked. We're desperate for ideas here. If you've lived in Los Angeles long enough, you've seen it all before. Grand announcements, gleaming podiums, politicians with perfect smiles promising that this year, things will change. Billions allocated, blueprints unveiled, voters wooed, hope dangled like a carrot on a stick, just out of reach. And yet, somehow, by the time the next election cycle rolls around, the tents have multiplied, not disappeared. It's not for lack of ideas. Over the past decade, LA has floated everything from tiny home villages to supportive housing bonds to sprawling mental health initiatives. But ideas without execution are just daydreams. projects stall in endless permit reviews. Costs balloon to absurd numbers. $500,000 to build a single studio apartment, anyone? And the bureaucracy grinds every promise into dust. Meanwhile, real lives are stuck waiting in limbo. People live and die on sidewalks while funding gets swallowed by consultants, red tape, and lawsuits. Public patience wears thinner by the day. Cynicism isn't a bug in the system anymore. It's the operating manual. Maybe that's the cruelest irony. The people in power convince us nothing can change, and in doing so, guarantee it won't. And yet, even now, a stubborn ember of hope survives. Not in the speeches or the headlines, but in the volunteers handing out bottled water, in the nonprofits fighting eviction one tenant at a time. The system may be broken, but the people, ordinary, exhausted, infuriated people, haven't given up yet. If you believe change starts small with action, hit that like button and share your thought below. Let's keep that ember alive. Yet outside the walls of good intentions, life keeps moving, raw, unfiltered, and often forgotten. A child ducks out from behind a sagging tarp, giggling, chasing a battered soccer ball across cracked asphalt. It's a heartbreakingly ordinary sight in an extraordinary setting. Today's homeless population isn't just older men with cardboard signs. It's entire families. Kids doing homework by flashlight. Teens aging out of foster care straight into the streets. Veterans haunted by wars we pretend to honor once a year. Every missed opportunity for intervention creates a generation caught in the web of poverty, trauma, and systemic failure. Think about that the next time a politician brags about building 30 new shelter beds. 30 beds for 90,000 people. It's math so insulting it borders on comedy, if it weren't so deadly serious. The future costs of today's failures are staggering. Children experiencing homelessness are more likely to drop out of school, suffer mental health issues, and experience chronic unemployment later in life. We're not just condemning them to hard lives. We're bankrupting our future economy before it even gets a chance to grow. The American workforce, the next wave of innovators, teachers, doctors, slipping through our fingers like sand. Maybe you're wondering, why aren't we fixing this faster? Good question. Turns out the system wasn't built to solve homelessness. It was built to manage it. And as long as there's profit in managing misery, true solutions remain just out of reach. If that makes you angry, it should. Like and subscribe if you want more people to see just how deep the rot goes. There's an epidemic hidden inside the epidemic. It doesn't get splashy headlines or sweeping documentaries, but quietly fuels a homelessness crisis every single day. Untreated mental illness. And no, we're not talking about Hollywood caricatures or sensational news stories. We're talking about real, vulnerable human beings, abandoned by a healthcare system that treats mental health like a luxury service. In Los Angeles, psychiatric hospitals have been gutted, outpatient services stripped down to skeleton crews, and therapy priced so high you'd think healing was a designer brand. If you can't afford $200 an hour for a therapist, or wait 6 months for a Medicaid appointment, you're left to fight your demons alone. And when that battle spills into the streets, society turns its back and blames you for losing. Walk any major boulevard and you'll see the faces of untreated trauma, veterans with PTSD, survivors of domestic violence, kids with undiagnosed disorders growing into adults labeled problems instead of patients. The line between mental illness and homelessness isn't just blurry, it's practically non-existent at this point. If you're still with me right now, maybe take a second to like the video, not because it fixes anything, but because awareness is the first stubborn step toward change. We can't talk about solving homelessness without confronting the brutal, shameful neglect of mental health. Until we build systems that heal instead of punish, Los Angeles will keep cycling through the same nightmare, hoping that maybe next time, things will magically be different. Spoiler alert, they won't unless we demand it. Los Angeles has survived earthquakes, riots, economic collapses. But the homelessness crisis might just be the existential threat that finally remakes it completely. The version of LA that once existed. The playground for the rich and famous. The beacon of sun-kissed dreams. Might already be gone, buried beneath layers of bureaucratic failure and indifference. Recovery is possible, but it demands radical change. Zoning laws that currently favor luxury developers over affordable housing need to be obliterated. We need rent control measures that actually work, not watered-down half measures meant to placate lobbyists. Mental health services must be expanded dramatically and fast. It will take real, courageous leadership, not press conferences and photo ops. But let's be brutally honest. It's easier for politicians to court campaign donations from real estate tycoons than it is to face down the angry, scared voters who demand housing be kept out of their nice neighborhoods. Not in my backyard, they say. Not my problem. Well, guess what? It's everybody's backyard now. And it's everybody's problem. Hope survives in the cracks, though. Non-profits, local volunteers, even some city council members with actual spines are trying to turn the tide. It's not glamorous work, and it doesn't make good TV, but it's happening. Small victories here and there, like stubborn weeds growing in the wreckage. If you're still watching, thank you. You're part of the resistance against apathy. Smash that like button if you believe change starts with awareness. And it starts now.